Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to a new episode of the Late Night Lake Show podcast, powered by 19 Media Group. It is your host, Ricky and Kwame, and tonight we got another special guest in the building, here to discuss Winning Time Season 2, HBO's hit new series on HBO every Sunday night, as well as some of his great sports storytelling throughout the years. We have none other than Mr. Jeff Pearlman, author of Showtime, a Los Angeles Lakers dynasty of the 1980s. Jeff, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm a little hurt because before we started recording, you said I was the special guest, and now you're saying I'm another special guest. Like everybody's a special. If everyone is special, is anybody special? You know, like
God, yeah, no, that's a good point. I should have edited the copy there, but we're lucky to have you, Jeff. You know we are, my man. So thank you so much for making the time for us. Like we said, guys, we're here to talk about Winning Time. We're here to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers and Jeff's writings throughout the years. But before we get into that, make sure you are subscribed to Late Night Lake Show wherever you get your hashtag good content. Let's dive into it. Kwame?
Yeah, Jeff, just to kick things off, we'd love to know. So you have an impressive range of books covering things from the 86 Mets to the Showtime Lakers. What kind of things inspire you to delve into these stories and just expand on the tellings of these seemingly mythical sports dynasties and sports figures?
So the number one thing for me has always been nostalgia. I think if you think about it, I've said this a lot, but I really mean it. Sports, food, music are three things that they're nostalgia driven, right? Like you think about it, you're somewhere and you smell some sauce and reminds you of being in like your grandma's kitchen when you're a kid, or you hear a song from like Tupac and reminds you of being with your buddies back in so-and-so. And to me, like, just as an example, I'm a kid from New York, but I remember in the 80s, be in front of the TV. It's a cold day in New York, and it's like live from the Inglewood Forum today on CBS. It's the Lakers and the so-and-so. And then we do this live shot of the palm trees and the coastline. Then you'd come inside the arena and it'd be the Laker girls, and it'd be Magic Smile, and it'd be like Jack Nicholson with Diane Cannon, with Blair Underwood. And you'd just be like, I want that. Like, I want that. Like, I want that in my life. That is just the fantasy. So as you get older and you start writing, what are the things that set me off nostalgically? You mentioned the 86 Mets. I was 14 years old and I love that team. You know, I was a kid watching the Lakers, Walter Payton. I wrote a biography of Walter Payton. Sweetness was the guy for me as a kid. I had his poster on my wall. So to me, it's honestly, number one is nostalgia.
I love it. And, you know, you're talking to a couple of Chicago boys here. Yeah. So the sweetness, the biography and the story about Walter Payton, that is my father's favorite athlete of all time, and just how dominant he was. We appreciate you for capturing that,
Absolutely.
my man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So, Jeff, let's talk. Let's talk Winning Time. Let's talk Showtime. You wrote about the Lakers 1980s dynasty, which really kicked off what we have grown to appreciate and love about the Lakers, from Magic Johnson, Kareem, all the way to now with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You watched season 2, as it did everyone, on Sunday night, the premiere. What was your take? What was your take of the first episode of season 2?
Well, I mean, I've been involved, so I've seen them all already. And
okay. All right.
Yeah, so it wasn't my first time, but in fact, I saw it at a screening 2 nights ago or 4 nights ago, and then I saw it again with my wife like last night. So I've seen it now many times. And honestly, and I'm just being honest, it's a freaking thrill for me. Like, it's a thrill for me. Like, I'm just a writer. Like, I'm just a guy who writes books from a small town in New York who dreamed of writing for Sports Illustrated. And the idea that they would take a book you wrote and not just turn into a TV show, but turn into an HBO series. And not just turn into an HBO series, but we're going to get Sally Field, and we're going to get Rob Morgan, and we're going to get Adrian Brody, and we're going to get John C. Reilly, and we're going to get Jason Segel, and, you know, just all these A-listers, and they're all going to be in the show. And the best part, this isn't what you asked, but like last year, because this is pre the writer's strike, like they had a premiere party, and it was red carpet, and it was like all the stars, and I'm just some writer, and they're like, all right, you got to walk the red carpet. Oh, me? Okay. And like, there was a moment, one of the great moments of my life truly was at this event, premiere party for Winning Time. I took my 2 kids, they were both in high school, and they had a bar where they were rolling cigars. And my daughter, who I think was 16 or 17 at the time, was like, the 3 of us should smoke a cigar. Now, in any normal universe, a dad smoking a cigar with his kids is just kind of no. But I was like, we should smoke a cigar. So
That's
me,
right. Yeah.
my way too young son, and my moderately too young daughter smoked a cigar with Michael Chiklis, who plays Red Auerbach. And it was like just this moment I will never, ever, ever forget. So this whole thing, soup to nuts, has been one of the great fulfillments of a dream I never even had.
That's
amazing.
incredible. I'm sure the feeling has to be sublime for you. So, but just curious. Let's rewind a bit back to season one. So obviously, fans of the book Showtime are probably undoubtedly thrilled to see it adapted into a TV show, and even newcomers who are just fans of the Laker dynasties and sports history. I'm sure they're just thrilled to watch something of this sort. But how closely would you say that the show follows the story of the book's narrative?
I mean, 70%. You know, it's like
Okay.
it's not and I'm being serious about this. Like it's kind of funny. This is actually really true. And I'm sure at HBO they don't even love me saying this stuff, but I don't care. Like I'm the worst audience for sports movies and TV shows. Like my wife hates watching anything having to do with sports with me because I'm always like, that's bullshit, that's bullshit, that's bullshit, that's bullshit. I'm like Moneyball. I covered the A's when I was at Sports Illustrated when Moneyball was going on. And Moneyball is a really good movie, but they just don't mention that they had 3 Cy Young worthy pitchers in the rotation, that they had an MVP at shortstop, and it's all like because Scott Hatteberg played first base. Or like I watched We Are Marshall and I hate everything about that movie. Or 42, the Jackie Robinson movie. I'm like, God, they turn this into gooey crap. So I'm like, I'm really bad. And all of a sudden I'm watching the show based on my book. And you know, I'm getting paid and it's helping my book. And I'm like, I love this show. This is great. But like, are there things that are not accurate? Yeah. And I've kind of just learned over time that that's part of the process. And it is not a documentary. It's a dramatic retelling. Mm-hmm. So I think when I watch future sports movies, I'll have a little more patience because I now understand. Like there's a scene in the first episode of season 1. This is where it first hit me actually, where they have a white party and Norm and Magic play one-on-one and Norm beats him. And it didn't happen. Like it didn't happen in real life. It's a dramatic device they use to sort of symbolize a relationship, but it didn't happen in real life. And me, as a guy who's a journalist, who it's facts, I just kind of had to accept that this is part of the process. And it's not a documentary. It's a dramatic series. And you just kind of have to deal with it.
Well, sure makes for good entertainment, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's entertainment. In fact, I had the guy who played the coach, Jack McKinney. He's a guy named Tracy Letts, and he's a really famous playwright. He's not in my universe, but he did my podcast a while back. And I said, do you have any problems with them doing this? And he's like, no, because real life is boring. If we just told the real life story, it'd be Jerry West walking to the bathroom, Jerry West wiping his nose, Jerry West writing in a notepad. Like real life is boring, and people turn to series and movies to be taken away a little bit. And I guess that's fair.
I love that. I think, you know, you mentioned your wife and her affection or lack thereof for sports movies and sports shows along with yourself. My wife is the exact same way. I couldn't drag her in front of the TV for any sporting event except for the fact that she loves me, right? But we watched all of Winning Time together. And she said right there, she asked me questions like I would, you know, I'm supposed to have lived through the 1980s. Spoiler alert, I was born in 1992. So I'm also, for my generation at least, who didn't decide to go back and do our own research, we know the end results, right? We know all the big storylines that happened throughout that dynasty, but the relationships and some of the finer details, that's what made me wonder, like, how close to the best is this show? But I think the one thing that stood out to me, at least in season 1, is just the development of relationships, right? Yeah. Whether if it was McKinney and Westhead and Riley, shoot, and you go all the way even to Magic and Cookie, right? I really appreciate how HBO was able to dive and explore those relationships in the way that they did, but tie it all the way back to the main thing, which was basketball for the Lakers. My question for you is, when writing the book Showtime, what was your favorite relationship that you unfolded? And after going through season 1 and now, you know, watching season 2, was that your same favorite relationship watching it on the TV series?
Okay, so that's a great question. And you mentioned Jack McKinney briefly. And for people who may not know, Jack McKinney was the original coach of the Showtime Lakers. I think it was 11 games into the season. They had an off day. He's literally going to play tennis with his assistant coach, Paul Westhead, is riding his bike, flips over the bike, lands on his head. And I knew who Jack McKinney was, but I actually didn't remember that he had coached the Lakers. It kind of was lost to history. And when I was researching Showtime, Jack McKinney has since passed away, but I flew down to Florida and spent an afternoon with Jack McKinney on his patio. And his wife was with him, Claire. She was great. And his memory was horrible. Like, he had never fully recovered from the bike accident. He kind of recovered. Now he was older. He also had early onset dementia. So, like, it wasn't great. And to me, seeing Jack McKinney, seeing Tracy Letts play Jack McKinney, and seeing Jack McKinney's story told for guys like your age who maybe never heard of Jack McKinney or didn't know about it, like, that shit really does it for me. Like, that really does it for me, because it's like bringing something back to life that was forgotten to history. Like, it really, really, truly, as an author, it brings it to me, telling it on the page, but then it really, in this case, brings it to me that people actually see it and all of a sudden are Googling Jack McKinney and talking about Jack McKinney. It moves me beyond words. And so for me, his relationship with the Lakers, his relationship with Paul Westhead early on, very meaningful to me. And it really warmed my heart that they told it well.
Absolutely. I mean, just like you said, I was one of those people that pulled out my phone and Googled Jack McKinney, because I was like, I didn't know that this even happened. I was like, this is crazy. And the way they retold that story, like you said, I think was beautifully done and really helped capture something, like you said, that feels almost lost in the retelling of like the basketball history. Like, that's a component that I never knew of, despite I thought I had a pretty good knowledge of basketball history, but that's something that went completely under the radar. So even with that, obviously, a lot of the characters and everything, some are, some moments are increased for dramatic purposes and whatnot, and they play a very pivotal role in the narratives. But who would you say your favorite character was that was translated from the pages of Showtime onto the big screen?
Oh man, I mean, there are a bunch of them. Okay. The thing I love about Quincy Isaiah, the guy who plays Magic, is he's truly. I've said this to him probably 5 times. He's probably like, okay, enough, I get it. But like, he's so emblematic of actually Magic's story. Like, Quincy is a guy from Michigan. He's a kid who played college football at Kalamazoo College. He's this lovely, lovely guy who, like, just exudes this thing about him. Like, he has this thing about him where people feel good around him, and he radiates this real joy or warmth or something about him that is just wonderful. And I've said to him so many times, I'm like, you're some guy from Michigan who nobody ever heard of, and you're about to star in a show on HBO with John C. Reilly and Jason C. And Sally Field. Like, doesn't that just blow your mind? And he'd be like, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I just love it. And then there's another guy. He's not like as big a character, but the actor Delonte D'Souza plays Michael Cooper. And it's just like, this is going to sound weird, but like, so Delonte's from Baltimore. He's going to hate me for saying this. He has no basketball skills to speak of, like literally no basketball skills to speak of. And he auditioned during COVID via Zoom. And there's just something about him. To be in his presence is to just be in the presence of just a truly warm, kind of like Quincy, like just a warm, delightful guy. And both those guys just nail the characters too. The paranoia of Michael Cooper, the nervousness.
Oh my God.
Of Cooper. He's really good at it. So, and then also the other guys, I mean, I'll just like Sean Patrick Small, who plays Bird. So again, another guy with very little
that role.
He nails it. And he wasn't originally was Bo Burnham, the comedian, was cast as Larry Bird, and he backed out right before the show started. And they kind of had an emergency casting call put out, and Sean saw it. And I have no beef with Bo Burnham, but there's no way he'd be better than Sean as Larry Bird. Larry Bird, he's so good as Larry Bird. He just nails it. And a funny side note, I play pickup every Saturday and Sunday down here in California. And Sean came recently, and he's a 6'4" gunner. He's really good, and he shoots just like Larry Bird. And he played high school ball, but he told me that in training for the show, the trainers reconstructed his shot. So he's coming and he's playing pickup basketball with us, and he literally has the high release of Bird just from doing this role so often.
That's incredible.
That's not as good you don't get anywhere else, folks. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. But I mean, the Larry Bird character, I mean, nail on the head, right? Like, we're in Chicago. I've been in Indiana plenty, and if I could just point out an Indiana farm boy that just loves his hoops, that's what it looked like in Larry Bird.
Totally.
good stuff. So going back and taking a look at season 1, were there any moments in the story that you had to kind of go back and fact check yourself from your book to make sure that it was historically accurate? Or like you said earlier, did you kind of just ride with the storytelling? Were there any moments where you were like, wait, let me make sure that I captured that moment as well?
Well, I mean, definitely the white party where Magic and Norm played one-on-one. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna let that go. I'm gonna let that one go. I think, like the sort of emergence of Riley from unemployed, basically former NBA player to kind of beach bum to announcer. I read that over and over just to sort of make sure they got it down how I thought it should be, and they really did, really really well actually. The thing that's cool, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on a show and promoting a show, like they really used me a lot. Like they didn't have to. There are many examples of people buying the rights to books, handing the author a little money and saying, "All right, see you later," and it was anything but. Every episode, they'd want me to fact check. Does this work? Does that work? Does that work? Does this work? Early on, they were like, do you have any idea? This is when I knew they were legit. They were like, do you have any idea what the material they used to make the 1979 NBA Summer League uniforms? What material was that? And I was like, I don't know, but I can research it. What were the balls like? What were the balls made of back then? And I remember going to set, and they had the recreated basketballs from 79, 80. And they were literally, they recreated the balls, the uniforms, the same texture, the same material. They just like really went for it hard. So overall, I was pretty psyched by how intense they were about it all. I'm very impressed.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then, you're talking to one, Laker lifer that was baptized in the Shaq and Kobe era. You wrote another book, Three Ring Circus, which is that's good eating for my generation, the Lakers fans especially. Is there any movement on potentially a Three Ring Circus show coming up here?
Okay, so this is the truth. Number one, they bought the rights to it, so they do have the rights to it in case they decide to go forward. But this, here's my plea to you and your listeners and your viewers, etc. Like, we're in the middle of a writer's strike right now. We're in the middle of an actor's strike right now. I'm not in either guild, so it doesn't matter. I'm just a book writer. But like, it's very hard to promote this show. Like, you're not going to see the actors out there. You're not going to see their Instagram feeds or Twitter feeds promoting it. And in order for the show to continue, it honestly needs viewers. I'm not just saying it needs viewers. Like they're probably going to take the viewership of the first 3, 4, maybe 5 episodes and decide whether to go forward. So yeah, I would love for them to continue on. And there's definitely talk of it, but the show has to do well. And I mean, that's why I'm kind of out here. I believe in this show. I really want that. And I think Shaq and Kobe era would be amazing. I think enough time will have passed death of Kobe that you could do it, and you could do it well, and you could be honest about Kobe and his young kind of self and his evolution. So, I mean, I would love it. The show needs to be watched.
And if you don't have HBO, folks, get HBO.
The Late Night Lake Show podcast is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best legal way to play daily fantasy player props in states like California, New York, Texas, and more. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. The best part is you can mix players from different sports. You could take the over on LeBron combined with the under on Mahomes in the same entry. Prize Picks is the easiest way to play daily fantasy because it's just you versus the projected numbers. Just use our promo code LNLS, and any deposit you make can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So go support the brand and go win you some money. It's the best of both worlds. Again, use our promo code LNLS.
The season was just so
incredible,
hilariously incredible. Like, it's just so many different ways. The cinematography, just how they do the shots, breaking the third wall. John C. Reilly talking to me in my living room. It's amazing. He's got a drink in his hand. I got a drink in my hand. It's like we just two buddies. The only difference is I'm not smoking the cigarette. They smoked a lot and drank a lot, Jeff. How was any business done back then?
All right, here's what I can tell you. True story. So I have a cameo in episode 6 of this season, and I play a reporter in a press conference. And I was really psyched, right? So I showed up for my day of shooting. I got to set. You know, I'm a writer. This is what I do. So I show up 9 a.m., 8:30 a.m., whatever. Shooting starts at 10. I go to hair and makeup, and they give me a wig and all the wardrobe and all this. And I go to craft services, and I'm thrilled. I'm like, this is gonna be amazing. I'm gonna act in my own show, in a show based on a book I wrote. They shot the scene I was in 104 times. They started at maybe 10:30, 11 in the morning. I did not leave till 10 at night. They use these clove cigarettes. And if you think like, oh, it's clove, it's not so bad. It sucks. Like, it smells so bad. And you're saying the same line over and over and over. Now we're going to do it from this angle. Now we're going to focus on this. Now we're going to use this camera. Now we're going to use this camera. By the end of the day, I was like, never again. I have no desire to ever act in anything ever again. But I gained an appreciation. It reminds me, years ago, I did a story for TV Guide years ago. And there's an actor named Jason Priestley who used to be in Beverly Hills 90210. And I watched him film a scene, and they probably shot it 30 times. And I said to him at the end, as a reporter interviewing an actor, I said, I'm going to be honest, that seemed kind of boring. And he goes to me, brother, you have no idea. And now I feel like I have an idea.
And maybe that's why it's such a great show, because I'll have a 97 million takes, and that every angle is at the producer's disposal. Like, I'm serious. Like, it's just like, even the graininess of some shots in conversations, I'm just like, I'm teleported back, to be honest with you. So shout out HBO for stitching all that together.
100%. And Adam McKay and Kevin Messick, they really they just want it to be Sally Richardson. Like, they want it to be authentic and hardcore.
Yeah, honestly, the level of detail for that specific time period is just unbelievable. From the camera shots to how the set pieces, how people are dressed, everything is just, the level of detail is honestly incredible. But Jeff, so for you, just a question, looking back at the past decade or even maybe a little bit beyond, you spoke about how nostalgia has been your fuel to write these novels and these narratives about these sports figures and historical dynasties. But are there any teams or sports figures within the last decade or so that you would consider writing about?
I mean, I've talked about the idea of doing making the Laker book a trilogy, and doing a book about the last Kobe run, the Pau Gasol Kobe run with the 2 more titles. I think that's kind of an interesting and older, more mature Kobe, sort of with less talent around him and becoming this thing. And also, it's bringing back the Celtic rivalry this time with KG and Garnett. I mean, Ray Allen and those guys. And I thought about that. I'm actually working on a book, my first non-sports book. I'm doing a Tupac biography, so I'm kind of venturing outside of sports for a little bit. You got to try new things in life.
Absolutely.
You beat a New Jersey boy writing about the California star. You weren't a Biggie fan?
First of all, Tupac is from New York and Baltimore. He moved to California. So, and the Outlaws were all from New Jersey also. So and I was I like Biggie, but I was more of a Tupac guy than a Biggie guy.
That's fair. Tupac knew how to bring that emotion out of people, that's for sure, in his songs. So a special talent indeed.
Yeah, definitely.
Jeff, last question for you this evening. If there's one athlete of the past 25 years, who do you think story would best translate to a series, and a HBO series specifically?
I'm not just saying this because I wrote a book that concerned him. I do think Kobe's story, all of it, I mean, it's beyond tragic. It's one of the most heartbreaking sports stories of my lifetime, his early death and also his daughter and all those other kids. I do think the Kobe story, this kid, I mean, if you think about Kobe's story, this young Black kid who's raised in Italy, who really struggles to find an identity when he comes to America. He's in this leafy suburban high school, Lower Merion. He comes to the Lakers. He's hated by teammates. The relationship with Shaq, Phil Jackson coming in, the development, the growth, the kind of downfall, Eagle, Colorado, retribution, everything about Kobe's story to me feels very cinematic. It would just have to be done with a lot of sensitivity.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I did, and as you could see, Kobe is one of the main reasons why I became a Lakers fan. And, you think about your basketball and sports hero in the way that, you know, everything ended, unfortunately, you don't really think about, oh yeah, that would be this would be an amazing story to actually watch from start to finish. And you just bringing that up, I'm like, yeah, man, there's just so many intricacies and just different weaves and just alleyways that you could go down. Like his story could be 6, 7, 10 seasons, really, if you wanted to. So that's amazing. Jeff, I cannot get you out of here without the bonus question though. And it might be a little cheap, but we're going to ask it anyway.
I'm here for the bonus question.
Jeff Pearlman's top 5 NBA players of all time.
Okay. I actually go in this order. I'm not just going to give it to you. I go Kareem number 1.
Okay.
I go LeBron number 2, begrudgingly after many years. I go Jordan 3, although any of those guys you could wrap around and however you want. I probably go Magic 4, and I probably go Bird 5, but I could also put Olajuwon in there very easily. So Bird, Olajuwon, maybe Olajuwon. Yeah,
I love. So we're going Hakeem, LeBron. Oh, I'm sorry, Kareem. Sorry, Hakeem, Kareem, LeBron. Did you say Jordan next?
Jordan,
Magic,
Bird.
Olajuwon.
Oh, Olajuwon.
Yeah,
I can't really argue with that, Kwame. That's pretty. Them the goats right there. That's the Mount Rushmore. You could the 5 get you a couple of interchangeables, like you said. Larry Bird's right there as well, but you know,
increasingly close. I gotta say, I know it's a bit of a take, but I feel like Steph, that resume is getting really, really packed right now.
That's fair. And he's still got time.
I know you guys as Laker fans probably don't love him. Actually, you probably don't hate him though. He's kind of hard to hate.
No, I love Steph. This is what I say all the time. Love Steph, hate his disciples. The folks that kiss the ground he walks on. I cannot do it. I
know you're trying to get me out of here, but I do want to say this. I play pickup basketball all the time, right? All the time. I'm 50 years old, 51, but I still play pickup. No player in modern history has had a more negative impact on pickup basketball than Steph.
Man.
All these people under the age of 24 doing pullback threes that they have no business shooting.
I see it in gyms all the time. People pulling from half court, the volleyball line, wherever they think is deep, they're shooting it. So
it's like, Bob, you're not Steph. Stop
it. Right. Well, it was open. It does, and then they start talking about how, you know, missing more threes is actually better than missing or taking more twos. It's like, please shut up, pass the ball, rotate it, go get a rebound, because you're not rebounding. That's my big thing. You're going to shoot, I need you to rebound. You're not doing that, I got no use for you.
Also, I'm a guy, you know, I'm 51 years old. I'm 6'2". I post up. Nobody looks in the post anymore. Nobody looks.
It's a guards game.
Yeah.
Just the spacing. Nobody knows how to space and pick up basketball. I get the ball in the post. I turn around. I'm looking at 2 of my other teammates. I'm like, we're not running the triangle over here. Move out my way. I can't do it, man.
You guys come out to Southern Cal. You're welcome to join my game, and we could be the 3 grumpy guys posting up.
Right.
Might take you up on that.
Nice.
We will absolutely will. Jeff Pearlman, it's been an absolute honor, sir. We are happy to have you. We look forward to potentially having you back in the future to talk just through. We're gonna open the books up because we gotta talk sweetness. We gotta talk to Dallas Cowboys. We gotta figure out. Actually, you know what? We're doing another bonus question before we leave, Jeff. Okay. Extra bonus question. Dallas Cowboys era, Showtime Lakers era. Which one had a higher peak?
Probably Showtime by a little bit, but they're very similar. The problem is the Lakers star was mainly addicted just to sex, and the Cowboys star, if you go on Michael Irvin, was addicted to both sex and cocaine. So it's usually sex you can get by, you can still play at a high level. Sex and cocaine starts to have an impact on you.
Oh, God. Yeah,
a lethal combo.
Yeah, and you know, it didn't look like it was cocaine, but we saw some issues with our boy Spence in Caesar 1 dealing with some of his addictions. Man, talk about stuff I didn't know about before I was born.
Yeah.
Jeez, I thought Michael Jordan's traveling cocaine circus was something. That had nothing to compare to the Showtime era, man.
Yeah. I just want Also, when I researched the book, I visit Spencer Haywood out in Las Vegas. This is a true story. Worst nightmare ever for a journalist. I'm at his apartment and I go, Spence, can I use your bathroom? And he goes, sure. And I use his bathroom, okay? And all I did was pee. I swear to God, all I did was pee. I flushed the toilet. The water starts coming up fast.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
There's no plunger. The water is pouring out onto the floor. It's seeping under the door into his daughter's room, which is carpeted. I'm like, oh my God, I'm lifting off the back of the thing. I'm like doing this, nothing. I go to Spencer. I'm like, hey, Spence, do you have a plunger? And he just hands me a plunger. And I'm literally in Spencer Haywood's bathroom, plunging the stupid toilet, trying to get it to stop. Finally, the water stops. I'm like, hey, Spence, do you have some paper towels? I'm literally walking around his bathroom, paper toweling the floor and underneath the door. And I'm like, he never even batted an eye. He's like, all right, we good? I'm like, yeah, I guess so. And I left.
I was about to say, was he aware of what was happening? He just was like, yeah, that's that old toilet. You know, I'm just happy you cleaning it up this
Yeah,
time.
he played a trick on you. He knew the toilet was bad.
Exactly. Exactly. Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time to chop it up with us, my man. We'll look forward to talking with you in the future. If you guys haven't already, make sure that you are tuning in to Winning Time every Sunday evening. I believe it is 8 p.m. Eastern time. No, 8 p.m. Central.
I think
where
it's
is it?
wherever you are. I think it's actually based on where you are. I think it's always 8 p.m.
Well, that works. That's easy enough.
Yeah.
8 p.m.
If you have
wherever you
Max,
get
it's
your
just, yeah.
You're right. Fact. So make sure you check that out. Jeff, I am actually, the shameless little plug here. I'm going to get the Sweetness book. I'm also going to get Three Ring Circus. Can I send them to you for you to sign, sir?
I charge $100 for it, but for you, 50.
Okay, we'll talk to it. Yeah, we'll
of course,
get that.
Of course.
We'll get that sent over there. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again, Jeff, for hopping on and joining us, man. Appreciate it.
I'll see y'all.